An endless example of spiritual direction and discernment can be found, I mentioned here, in Paul Eli's book. The life you save might be your own. It's a story he uses Dorothy Day and Flannery O'Connor, my mind went blank, the doctor who wrote The Moviegoer. I'll think of it later. Huh? Wallace Percy, and then Thomas Merton. And at the end he says, you know, we live in times now when in many ways we have to find our own spiritual path. Others can help us and guide us, but we don't have an institutional lock on the way we should live. There's what we call multiculturalism. We can talk about the multifarious ways of spiritualities that we have. All of those are true. But when we finally discern what is true is the understanding what Paul meant by, for freedom Christ set you free. Freedom. Freedom from sin, freedom from attachments, freedom from bias, freedom from prejudice, freedom from fear. Then you begin to read the gospel and say, the Lord has called us to be, like Mary, humanly open to the action of God. Like Jesus, a humanity that's made to serve and help others, and like God, to be reconciled, to be at peace, to find in God an acceptance. Now, you want to tell me that that's not a good way to live? Not a good way to teach people how to do their profession? You might gussy this up in a different way. You're talking to a whole group of people in the medical profession, and I will frequently use the parable of the Good Samaritan, but I'm using Ignatian stuff. Why is the Samaritan different? The Samaritan sees, the Samaritan's not afraid to feel, the Samaritan does the good he can do, then the Samaritan creates a network that will continue to do the good even when he's absent. Isn't that what a hospital does? Research, I see. I feel, so that the patient knows the patient is a person. I use the skills I have with the availability of the tools I have, that I create a network that will sustain this even when I'm gone. That's why I train other doctors. I chaired the search committee for the head of the medical center at Georgetown. And when I finally came in with it, I didn't know anything about it. I was just holding together people with a lot of talent and a lot of ego so we could get somebody good to head the hospital system. Okay. But what I kept asking the question, what do you want? What do you want? And they all finally said, we would like someone who would be a doctor that will never forget that that doctor will learn more from listening to the patients than telling the patients. We're in a new era in which patient consultation is not a trick, it's an essential component to healing. And everybody agreed. That means we have to teach very bright women and men how to listen to what the patient will tell them and diagnose what they say rather than the cases they've learned that are abstract. And to be critiqued on that listening skill. Well, the whole life of the Spirit is listening to God, to one another, to the church, to the human heart. It's part of our human family. Now, I end with this discussion with something that I found in one of the articles that I had written, something I had written, it was in a collection from the Way Supplement, but it's really good. A large part of self-understanding is the search for appropriate personal metaphors that make sense of our lives. It is like this. It is like this. Or as my sister and I have gotten older and older, we keep talking about my mother and saying, how did she do it? I don't know, I just hear, the older I get and I look back and I say, things I just took to be, she did it, I suddenly realized had wisdom and love and a care and affection. And I don't know how she did it, but I know it was there. But I had to be 70 years of age to look back and suddenly realize what our mother did for us. And she says, so every day I'm thanking her and talking to her and saying, Mom, I'm sorry I didn't say thank you back then. You know. Self-understanding requires unending negotiation. I mean, what does that mean? What I would like to do and what I know I can do. What other people think I should do and what I know I can do. what people impose on me and what I want to be free of. That's negotiation. And then renegotiation and saying, having said all that, I don't reject these people. I try to integrate it into a new maturity that I have before God. That's my life. Much of self-understanding involves consciously recognizing unconscious metaphors, things that have tyrannized us without a you must be like. Yeah, I must only be like what God wants me to be and how we live by them. The rest of it you can read for yourself. So what I would say to you in this Saturday afternoon, in your generosity of coming here, is if you look at Mary, you look at Jesus, and you look at the God revealed by Jesus, what you find is, in many ways, the context in which we discern. Not what we should do, but how we should go about discovering in ourselves what to do. And if some of you are privileged to accompany others in that, that's one of the great spiritual and corporal works of mercy, to be a guide. And remember, a guide walks with, like Jesus to the two disciples at Emmaus, neither any faster or any slower, but with them. So thanks very much.